Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are across Europe. Welcome to the webinar Personalizing the Customer Journey, which will be delivered for the most part by Biljana Ivanova. I will be doing a short introduction as a setup to what we'll be talking about today. So the first 5 minutes will be doing the setup in terms of why customer journey personalization is important to what we're hearing in the market today. I'll be sharing a little bit about what we believe customer journey personalization is, and then we are going to look at how we will do that. Biljana will take care of that. So to start with, transitioning the slide. So to start with, last year we conducted a survey which was executed by Loudhouse in terms of the business outcomes of digital transformation. As we see customer journeys part of digital transformation discussions all across the world today, we interviewed just over 700 digital leaders in terms of what they were expecting as business outcomes of their digital transformation. And we're seeing a combination of efficiency and new business or revenue growth. What we do typically see is that the proportion of efficiency-related objectives is getting smaller versus the revenue or growth-related objectives. So the vast majority. The vast majority of the questions are actually based on improving the customer experience. So, Biljana, if you can click for me once, please. So, 61% of the attendees answered it as their key objective that improving their customer experience is the most important digital outcome. So next slide, please. So today we're talking about the customer journey, and what we're seeing here is a very simplified version of the customer journey, and how complex your actual customer journeys will vary, of course, per company and per industry, but the basis will be around the 4 different stages that we're seeing. So what marketers are now looking for is how to map their company journey to really match the customer journey. And that means that first of all, we need to understand where our visitors or our prospects or customers are in that journey, and then how we can map out our company journey towards the customer journeys in all our communications to that. And we need to do this across all the channels of engagement that our customers choose to, which of course is the website, but also mobile applications or mobile web. It's email campaigns and even in-person engagements like call centers or personal visits, which we capture in our CRM systems as an example. So a number of questions get to mind when optimizing customer journeys. One question we're seeing a lot is we understand that we want to personalize the customer journey, but how do I actually identify who my visitor is and where this visitor is in the customer journey? The second one is, even if I know this, if I have identified who my person is, my visitor is, and where this person is in the customer journey, how can I then easily personalize the content that I want to communicate with this person? And lastly is a question around the multiple channels that our customers are engaging with us through with our brand, is how do we build this 360-degree customer view across all these channels and systems that capture information about our clients. So what we'll be showing today as part of the customer journey optimization is a cloud-based service which we call the Digital Experience Cloud. And this is a toolbox for marketers that makes it very easy to capture, first of all, the various data out of the systems that our customers engage with. So social media channels, of course, our website, email marketing, mobile apps, and also our CRM system. And what it delivers then is, first of all, a 360-degree of the customer journey. Second, it's going to measure how marketing efforts contribute to conversions. And a conversion, by all means, is not just a purchase in a web shop. This could be anything from registering to an event or a newsletter or attending a webinar, just like you did today with us. Thirdly, the system will provide recommendations for next steps, next best steps to drive these conversions. And lastly, what the system will do and what we'll be seeing in the next little more, less than an hour, is to how the system will find hidden marketing potential through predictive analytics. So going forward, we'll be looking at a demonstration by Biljana Ivanova, who's a senior digital marketing technology expert based in our Sitefinity headquarters, Sofia, in Bulgaria. And Biljana, I'd like to hand over to you to show how we personalize the customer journey. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob. And with that, I would like to invite you all to also post your questions during the presentation if you have one. My colleagues will try to address them on the fly, and if that was not possible, then we can try and address them in the end or in a follow-up after today's webinar. But let's kick things and get them started. So basically, I would like to take you a step back to where it all begins, where actually the content marketing strategy is designed. Basically, there are a bunch of questions that you should be asking. Why are you actually doing the strategy that you're doing? Who are you trying to help? How are you helping them exactly? And how are you helping them in a way that no one else is actually doing that? How are you also differing in your content and messaging from your competition? So those are a bunch of questions that you should be thinking of when trying to target that audience and trying to reach them. And once you have that thing in mind, then you can actually devise a plan, and that would contain the actual execution of the plan, who will be handling each task, which are the key topics that you'll be covering, how are you going to propagate that content, when are you going to propagate it, and what would be the call to action to your customers. So those are a bunch of questions that you need to answer, and in the end you are reaching the point where you actually want to start creating the content for your customers. So how do we do that? So let's say we have our website up and running. It's all set, and what we want is to go forward with that content strategy that we devised. We already have our content, and it's crucial, and that operational efficiency that Bob mentioned in the beginning, that you're able to very quickly deliver on that strategy. So if you have your content ready, then what you should be able to do is access the administration panel of the system that you use, and then be able to quickly create that content, whichever type it is. So if you are creating a new news article, then you should be able to do that quickly and not waste any time doing that. If you already have that content prepared, that you should be able to very quickly repurpose that content into your CMS. The website should be able to handle that and automatically populate the pages where such content already appears, so I can make that content available online immediately. Now, if I want to publish a different type of content, maybe a media item, I should be able to also do so. So I can maybe find quickly a piece of article that I want to upload to my website, maybe a white paper or some document that would be useful to my customers. I can select it or just drag and drop the file. Again, efficiency is key here. So really the question is, okay, how much time do I spend actually focusing on the strategy that I have, and how much time do I spend on the actual execution? And the goal should, of course, be that the majority of your time is spent on the actual devising of the strategy and the creation of the actual piece of content, rather than working with the system where it is propagated. Now, this is with regard to simple content creation. Now, when it comes to actual page creation or sitemap management, you would like to create one of your pages for the website or a campaign page, then again, that should be rather easy to do and efficient. So all the things that I need would be a starting point, maybe a template where all of those elements that I need on the page would be already populated, and the ability to quickly change and adapt any metadata that I may need for my page. And then I can proceed to the actual page creation. Now, if I want to populate a page, then I should be able to use a bunch of ready-to-use components, ones with dynamic behavior, where already I have created articles or documents, or pieces of content where I have static content, which is available on a page specifically. One of those types of content may be a banner, for example, where you have that call to action that we spoke about, that you need to devise that strategy and really target the customers. So let's say this would be my banner. All I'm doing is really focusing again on the content rather than how it's going to appear, where it's going to appear. I can maybe make it more visually appealing by just adding some images. And finally, the actual call to action. What do we want our customers to do? We want them to maybe get in touch with us. Now, the visual appeal of a piece of content should not be falling within your domain. The design agencies or your IT department team should be able to handle that, prepare all the necessary templates for you so that you can quickly select from the ones you want to use, and then just enjoy the end result. Now let's see how some of those more flexible scenarios where you, for example, would like to have a different layout or change the page layout that you currently use, and then continue adding your content. Again, that can be static content that you are reusing or publishing on one page specifically, or it can be content that's already available and you would like to just display it in a different shape or form. That can be, for example, our news articles, which would immediately put in here, and I can just specify on this specific page exactly what's the type of content that I want to see, in which category it should belong, or in which dates it should be created, how that content should be sorted or visualized. So these are all flexibility options that would allow you to very quickly tweak that page so that it presents exactly the type of content that you need. Of course, reaching customers on all devices is crucial. So most of us are walking around with our mobile phones. So making sure that all the content that you generate is easy to read and accessible on all those devices is again crucial. So you should be making sure that everything that reaches the customer looks perfectly fine, not only on your desktop devices, but on the mobile phones as well. And in the end, just publish the end result, and let's see how that page actually collaborates with the rest of the content on your website. Now, having this page online actually is like having a physical shop for electronics, just dumping all the equipment there and leaving the customers to just pick one on the way out. And it doesn't really work that way. So what we usually have in the store is really a person hiding somewhere in the background, lurking around and watching each of our moves. So if, for example, we just pass by let's say, the TVs and just stop in front of it, start looking at it, maybe touching the buttons here or there, then already we have a sales representative jumping to our aid, sitting by us, and already telling us all the story about how popular this particular TV is, what are all of its best features, and so on and so forth. So this is something that physically in a store we can use as cues. We can use the behavior of the customer, we can use the interactions that he makes with our products and with the things that we have presented there. But this is also available online as well, of course, and we use those different tools and techniques in order to track all of that behavior that the customers have in the store, whether that's in the physical store or we are tracking them online. So what does it mean in the digital world? What does it mean to actually be able to have that targeted messaging, to have that personalized experience? Now, it actually requires you to identify first who are those people that you would be targeting. So that can be a user group based on different characteristics that you have defined. If you, for example, would like to expand to a particular geography or target a specific vertical, then you should identify that user segment as your target user segment, and then define the characteristics based on which you'll be able to do so. So which are those characteristics? We can use information like, for example, the geographical location of your site visitors. How does that happen? There is a database which is mapping the IP addresses used by those site visitors against that specific database, which is identifying their geographical location. So that's pretty straightforward to do. Another thing that we can very quickly identify is which was their landing URL. So how did they end up on the website? Which website they came from? So what was the source of that lead or site visitor? So all of those properties we can identify, use as cues that the site visitor is leaving for us, that we can then use to personalize his experience exactly in the same way as we're doing so in the physical store. So let's say I want to target people, let's say in the Netherlands. Or is it just Netherlands? Okay. I'm adding that as a geographical location. And this would be our visitor from the Netherlands. So say we want to expand our business there. Now we have identified them, but the next step we need to actually take is make sure that their experience on the website is personalized for them. So what do we want to convey as a message to them? How do we want to really attract them to our business? So the way in which you can do that is in two ways, really. So one way is to design a completely different experience for that user group by creating a completely new personalized version of your pages for that specific user group. This would be this option here. Another strategy that you may take is to actually just tweak the experience of that user group on the website by maybe targeting a banner specifically to them, or changing the set of data that's displayed, like, for example, presenting local content, local events, promoting them for them specifically. Now, let's say you have a big customer that you want to kind of show off with, and you would like to make it available for them, that they actually see that recognizable brands actually do trust your solution or your services. So the way you can actually do that is, for example, by adding this targeted banner, this targeted message to the Netherlands visitors, for example, and saying, Aston Martin chose us successfully running with Quantum is our current fictitious company that we are trying to manage and optimize the customer journey for. So what else can we do? We can maybe change the image that we are presenting. We can see maybe add something more Aston Martin-like. We can also maybe change the actual call to action to directly requesting a quote and save those changes. And already the messaging could be different. So maybe for those visitors who recognize the brand in that region, we can maybe promote that in this way. Now, another crucial step is actually getting the real picture. So what exactly would be the experience of my customers as they engage with us? So how can we actually get a clear idea of that? It's the only way is to actually step into their shoes. So basically what we need to do is we need to really take a look at ourselves and our web properties through the eyes of our visitors and through the eyes of our customers. So the way to do that is, okay, let's see what the default version of my website is for any new visitors, for any anonymous visitors, but let's see what the experience would be for those visiting us from the Netherlands. And we can say, okay, we have been elected as the best agency in the region or something like that. So we can always tweak that messaging and promote it further here. Okay. Now, what happens when we would like to create a campaign page and actually talking about those visitors and those sales guys? Visitors are anonymous online, browsing the website. Sales guys, where do they expect and lurk for leads? They're actually expecting them to end up in the CRM system, right? So how can we kind of promote that and engage with those visitors? So one way in which we can do that is by securing a piece of content behind a form that needs to be filled in to access that information. So let's say I want to have this campaign page, and I would like to use one of the ready templates that I have in place. So one template like that would provide me with all of the necessary components already, which I can simply tweak. I can edit the actual message that I have so that I am presenting that content here. So instead of attracting more customers with mobile presence, I can say that we can say improve your marketing strategy with customer journey optimization. All right. Now I can further change the content on a page or directly publish it. I can make it only accessible through our campaigns, but the key idea here is that what you would like to have is a piece of content which is attracting traffic, attracting your customers, but then you switch them from anonymous visitors to now no customers. And here is our CRM system where we are actually tracking all of our leads. Let me quickly log into that. All right, so let me pull my credentials here. Okay, so what we want is any visitor from the website we would like to immediately capture as a lead. So let's say this is James Jones, some kind of a trivial name, James Jones. Has a Gmail address and works for Toyota, for example. He requests the download, and and we should be able to see him. Now, there are two ways in which those operations can happen. Those can be manual, or those can be scheduled tasks that run in the background. So on any 5 minutes or any 10 minutes, those new leads are synchronized to your CRM system. So these are things that you should be able to specify. Now what I can do is kind of force synchronization so that we don't need to wait that long. So really your web property, your websites or portals are actually serving as the source of those leads and feeding information into your other systems that you have within your infrastructure. So all that information coming from the website will be immediately recorded here so that the sales department can actually pick it up and continue working with it. Another system that usually is quietly tied to a CMS solution or to a website, maybe a marketing automation system, where again we want to be able to track all of those new leads and then engage with them, maybe automatically send follow-up emails and so on and so forth. So again, this is a system where we need to be able to record those leads, score their interactions, and give more and more points as they interact with our resources. All right. So now that we've seen how content creation is important in aspects of operational efficiency, and how we've seen that personalization based on clear characteristics like, for example, geographical location or visited pages and so on and so forth can be used. Now comes the question, okay, I have used Sitefinity as the source of information to my CRM and to my marketing automation system, but now I would like to have that information pulled back into my tools and be able to analyze that information centrally and really build that full profile. Because once we have those systems in place, they kind of become islands where we have data is isolated and hidden away from the rest of the systems. So what we really want to achieve is achieve this 360 customer profile with all of our site visitors and their engagements and interactions in one central place. And the only logical solution to do that is to have that central place where all of that data is being aggregated. One way in which you can do that is to have really a universal way in which you record those different interactions. Key parameters for an interaction would be exactly what did the person do, who was that person doing it, when did they do it, and so on. And in the end, what we want to achieve is really that full 360 profile of all of our contacts, be able to quickly identify and spot each of those user groups or contact groups where we may want to actually target with specific content. We would like to be able to see all the properties, all the contact fields that we have recorded, completely unifying all the data from websites, mobile applications, from CRM systems, and so on and so forth. So everything should be under the same hood. Now, the other thing which I mentioned was recording those interactions, the full journey timeline with all the interactions that a specific user or contact had with us, whether those happened online or those were recorded offline during our conversations in the CRM or somewhere else. So all of those interactions should be available here so that we really get the full picture. The other thing that can actually help us really improve on our strategy and target our customers better is to really identify their persona. So who are we actually speaking to? What are their key likes, dislikes, challenges, etc. So for example, as a business user, we have identified to be someone who is interested in usability. We can list again his likes, dislikes, what are his goals and challenges, and what will be our main message to this person. Once we have done that, we know who we are targeting, and we also know what are the types of activities that would be typical for such a persona, what would be the thing that we would recognize as specific to a business user or to an IT director or to a B2B or a B2C customer or an enterprise client. So we can really specify those individual interactions which would be relevant and distinguish from the crowd contact with this specific behavior. Each of those interactions, of course, has a different weight, so it's not equivalent whether you just click somewhere or you sign up for a webinar and attend it. So these are all different types of interactions which should be scored in a different way, and this is how we can actually do that. Once a particular contact actually reaches that threshold that we have defined, we now know that it's not an accident, it's not a single click that led them to this, it's actually a consistent behavior-based personalization and persona-based personalization that we actually trying to achieve. And out of all the contacts that we have experienced such behavior in, we can identify also those contacts who are known, but we also know that the rest of them, which probably will be the majority of your contacts in the end, registering and authenticating can be a high bar for most of the site visitors. They are hesitant to do that. Of course, social login makes that easier and faster, but still most of your contacts may remain anonymous till the end. So it's important that whether we know them or we don't, we still are able to target them and to deliver personalized content to them. So the way in which that should be used in this information is not, again, siloed in your marketing command center. What you should be able to do is really bring that information that you have gathered there, all that analytics, all that contact profiles with their full journey timelines. You should be able to reuse that back to your CMS system and really utilize it for personalization. So how can that be done? We should be able to rely on that information and reference it directly. So instead of using the characteristics that we explicitly define, like the geographical location, the landing and referral URLs, and so on, what we should be able to do is use that Digital Experience Cloud data straight into our system. So let's see how we can do that. It's pretty straightforward. Any data center that we have in our marketing command center would have their unique API key, distinguishing it from the other system. And then I can say that exactly this website should connect to exactly that system. These are my credentials. And once the two systems are connected, basically any interaction that happens on the website will be recorded there as well. So any page visits, any form submissions, any file downloads, anything that happens on the website would immediately be recorded there. Okay, and now back to the personalization and to the user segment definition. Let's see whether now we'll be able to actually utilize those personas that we saw in the Digital Experience Cloud. And there are. We have three personas. We have a business user, a gamer, and an IT manager. And let's see them here as well. So we have the business user, the gamer, and the IT manager. We can see what's the distribution between our contacts, so which profile they match the best. Let's say for the business users, I can say that, and this would be my business user. So now I'm not targeting a user segment explicitly defined based on characteristics, but rather I'm using this behavior-driven personalization segmentation. And I can go back to my website and personalize any of the existing pages that I have for that specific user segment. Now, usually in the statistics, you add up all the points and it comes to 100, which makes sense, but it actually does make sense that one and the same person can actually match more of your personas at the same time as well. So it may happen that people who actually do match the, let's say, IT manager persona actually do match another persona as well. Let's see whether we can find such an example here. In this case, it's not quite there yet, but we see that actually some of the behavior of business user has already been presented by this specific contact that we see here. If I meet the criteria for both of those personas, I should be able to see targeted message addressing both of my personas, because obviously I'm interested in all of those resources and I have those interests in place. So what we can do is we can tailor parts of the page to my IT manager persona, but then another part of the page would also speak to me, but this time to the business user persona. And this makes the experience really, really relevant for me. All the information that I see on the website would be speaking to things that are of interest to me. Now, the other thing that Bob mentioned was identifying where are my customers in their customer journey, how close are they to making the decision. To determine that, we usually use the lead scoring approach, where we identify different lead scoring types, and each of those types would have different requirements and different stages through which contacts would go through. So for example, initially they show some interest, they gather 100 points, and then we record them as interested leads. Then they interact with us more, they gather over 200 points, and now they go to the qualified lead bucket. And we can see again the distribution between the different stages. We can see also what are those interactions that we consider important for each of those stages and how important really are they. Now, adding additional rules or characteristics, you should be able to select from any of those systems that you used in your infrastructure, any of those CRM interactions, marketing automation system interactions, website interactions, mobile phone interactions should be available for you here, so that you can select whether this particular contact became a lead or this particular contact downloaded a document. All of those interactions should be recorded in here. Now, this is regarding all the things that you could do on your end, defining, personalizing, identifying how far down the customer journey a contact is. Now, this is all great, but it doesn't prove the budget for the marketing. So the only thing that you can actually use for defending those budgets and really showing the results of your work is to actually show that there is a relationship between the marketing activities that you do and the actual conversions that you record in your systems. So it's important that you be able to define the different goals that you have set out to achieve, whether that's improving purchases, that's usually one of the increasing sales, it's always one of the goals of the business, right? Another goal may be, for example, prompting more interaction with the sales team over the phone, or more submissions to one of our forms, or more registrations. So all of those different goals that we set out to achieve, we can define and really track and see how we can improve on those conversions. So let's say we want to improve on this conversion, how we can identify that. We have recorded that through the CRM system, that a specific contact contacted us by phone. So we know who are those people who did. And the other thing that we know is who are those who didn't, and what's the probability of that actually happening. So what we can see is exactly, if we just sit back and relax and don't do anything, what's the conversion rate that we can actually expect from our current contact base. Now this is important because it sets the right expectations, not based on some vague projections, but actually based on the data that we have in our systems. Now the other things, the other thing that's really important, and I mentioned about really seeing that relationship between the marketing activities that we do and the actual conversions that we have, is to see the relationship between the interactions and the conversions. So what we need to see is, okay, how is my business getting better once I publish this white paper? So how are my conversions actually improving since we have this specific resource? And again, based on the data that you gather, you should be able to see, okay, without this specific interaction, without this PPC campaign, or without this blog post, the average conversion would have been 2.08%. And we can now see that actually having this resource is really what kicked off the conversions and what actually contributed towards those conversions. So this is one way in which we can really prove that we are actually wanting to, or the activities that we actually perform are attributing, and to what extent, to our conversions. So the other thing that we may notice is that maybe some of those actions are really not doing their job. So maybe those attribution rates are actually negative. So it may happen that one of those things you target towards the enterprise business is actually alienating part of the small business customers or something similar to that. So you should be able to really pull this information out of your marketing platform and use these analytics for developing the business further. The other thing is that there are the obvious interactions and marketing activities that we do, and of course we do create with the intention of improving the conversion rates. So these are things that we expect to affect the conversions, but there may be other things that are in our bag with all of those resources that we have that are actually working for or against us. And the system will be able to identify them. So it will be able to identify that actually that event section that you have is helping you out, and it's actually promoting your business and improving on those conversions, or that blog post that you posted is actually negatively impacting that. So even though you didn't expect that relationship to be there, we can still identify those relationships and put them to the surface. Now the last thing that you actually are eager to do is really improve on those conversions, really create campaigns and target specific contact groups with specific messaging so that you can really increase those conversions. So one thing that we can do is we can recognize who are those groups of people that we should be targeting and what's the content or interaction that we should be providing for them. So if you imagine Google Maps to be Google Analytics providing all the information in one place, then what you really need to have is a path drawn from your starting point to the end point, which is the conversion. And what we need to really say is, what's the best next experience? Where does my customer need to stop next in order to move forward on the road towards the conversion? And we can help you identify that. We can help you identify groups of people who would benefit from different types of interactions. We can help you recognize that there are a bunch of contacts with similar history, people who did or didn't do the same thing, who can now benefit from the same interaction. So we have those in place, automatically recognized by the system, and all we need to do is, okay, say I want to follow up on one of those recommendations. I can see what's the conversion rate expected, what's the probability of that happening. And then the last thing that we need to have is, again, that connection between the marketing platform that we use and our content management system, so that we can bring that into action. So we need to be able to really target the message for that campaign and create our user segment specifically for them. So if we are targeting another vertical, the healthcare industry, and we have campaign which is bringing them and pushing them forward with a specific interaction, this would be our healthcare campaign. I don't need to do anything else with regards to identifying who those customers are, who those contacts are. The system did that already for me. So what I can do is just jump in back to my pages and back to my content and really tailor that experience for them. So there are many tools that you could use. It's important that those are all tied together, that information from one source doesn't stay isolated, but it's used to its best, and it's tied straight into your content management system so that you can really propagate that content everywhere. And with that, I think we can maybe close the session and maybe address some of the remaining questions that you posted in the questions section. I don't know whether we have any outstanding questions or my colleagues did their job answering all of them on the fly.
Hi, Bibi, this is Richard. Well, I've answered, I think, most of the questions that were posted during the sessions. But some people posted one question over several questions, and I think I answered them all, but I want to give the people the opportunity to ask for more clarification if my answers were not clear enough. So if somebody wants to do that, please do so. Type a message in the chat box so that I can give you time to speak.
Okay, great.
I don't see anything coming up, so I think the questions were answered. And well, some new questions are coming in now. Maybe we can do them online here. One question is, will for DEC data center locations be selectable in the future to avoid privacy issues?
Yes, we are currently providing or rolling out a new location for the DEC, so you will be able to host the data exactly where you want it to be, whether that's in the States or in EMEA. Basically, the benefits of having that solution in the cloud is that it's kind of alleviating you from all the weight of maintaining the system. It really is as simple as logging in and starting to gather the data and analyze it. So really, all that hassle is taken away when you have the system in the cloud. And for the security concerns, of course, this is something that we are addressing so that you can have the data exactly where you want it to be, so that you are compliant with all of the restrictions of the region.
Okay, and next questions we have is, we have 4 companies. Can DEC aggregate analytics across different sites?
Yes, you can aggregate the data from all those different sites, so we can either separate them in different data centers, or it can be merged into one data center where everything serves the same purpose.
Okay, and the last question we have is, what is the exact difference between a user segment and a persona, and can you give a concrete example of this?
Okay, well, that's a great question actually, and it can be kind of confusing, especially when you are creating them through the same interface, but there is a reason for that. So basically, a user segment, it's pretty straightforward. It has those explicit definitions that you have, and for example, you have a combination of profile fields if the user is authenticated and his geographical location or something like that. So you can combine them and you can have quite an extensive list of them. But in the end, in the user characteristics, what you have is explicit definition. And in order for a person to match that user segment, what you need to do is really match each and every of those characteristics that you have defined, which makes it quite straightforward. But it disregards, for example, the use cases where someone just clicks on a link once and then never comes back. It's a completely different experience than someone who is repeatedly going back to the same section of the website or viewing those pages over and over again. So with the user segment, basically you would be checking, did he do that once or not? With the behavior-driven characteristics, the persona, you are actually looking at the complete behavior of the customer. So how many times did he go back? The overwhelming evidence, so to say, of his behavior and to which type of persona he belongs. I hope that makes it more clear.
Okay, well then all questions are answered.
That's great. Right. So with the questions answered, first I'd like to thank Biljana for the demonstration, and of course I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar. An email will be sent to you in the next few days with the recording of the webinar. Also, if you would like to try Sitefinity yourself, please visit sitefinity.com. You'll see it in the screen of Biljana now. In the top right, you'll see a green button, Try Now, and in it, please select the online sandbox, which is a complete ready web shop for you to use or adjust and also try the personalization capabilities of the system. So it's meant for business users with a complete ready website. If there are any developers in your organization that would like to try, for example, the integration or the installation of the system, they can use the download trial, which is on the left side of it. This concludes today's webinar. Thank you very much.